shut up, you listen to my monkey mouth. There's a companion when you got pun on the Kanoa route. Hopped in a portal and got in a fight, Elias knocked him out. Bow, Naruto fighting style. Bow, UFC he tapped out. Bow, we win, we get crowned. Monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth.
The Immortal Boys be podcasting. This is Joshua.
And this is Elias.
And on this episode, we're going to be covering Season 6, Episode 2 of Rick and Morty, entitled Rick, a Mort Well Lived. And this episode is a ton of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's all over the place, but it's just that it's definitely fun, is what it is.
Yeah, it's a big episode, man. And so, basically, the premise of it is that Rick and Morty
are back at Blips and Chips, I guess.
Are at Blips and Chips with Summer.
With Summer, yeah.
And Morty was plugged into the Roy game.
Yeah.
When terrorists broke in and the power turned off. And that splintered Morty's consciousness into all of the 5 billion NPCs in the Roy world.
Yeah.
And now Rick has plugged into the game.
Yeah.
As the PC, as Roy.
Roy, yeah.
And is trying to wake Morty up.
Yeah, is basically trying to have him self-actualize that he's in a video game.
Yeah, he has to get all 5 billion of Morty back in order to get all of Morty's consciousness back into Morty.
Yeah.
And so it's a really, neato premise. So I'm, if and none of y'all know, I also run a kind of lifestyle psychedelic philosophy-centric podcast called The Ones Who Woke Up.
Yeah.
And so for me, the waking everybody up, that's I feel like Rick and Roy right now. I feel like I am the galactic consciousness plugged in as Josh so that I can wake up the galactic consciousness that's experiencing itself individually to its greater self.
Yeah.
And so I definitely, the whole time was just, cheesing, bro. Because, it's very much like what would be going on if, Hinduism were to become the, religion.
Prominent, yeah.
The
mainstream religion.
Yeah, it's well, I'm God. Well, no shit. You're God, too. And so is the trash can over there. Everything is, And so everything is Morty. I thought everyone is Morty. I thought that was, a really, really fun premise that they were able to play with.
The opening scene of, I think it's almost like a 7-Eleven sandwich kind of shop. It's like a mom and pop's kind of store. And he's like, you hooligans, get off my... get off, stop playing around, and they're we're tough kids who are doing cool kid stuff.
I love how everybody, to reinforce the fact that they're Morty, have them all being voiced, having them all voiced like Morty.
Yeah, yeah.
Every single person has the exact same voice.
It's it's the same tone across the board. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's literally Morty speaking in every single one of them. It's
and
great.
So essentially, this young lady, who is Morty, Morta, yeah, wants to see, Rick, who is embodied Roy, so wants to go and visit Roy.
Yeah, well,
who says that he's everybody's. Yeah, they get handed a flyer by a.
It's did you know your grandpa's trying to get your attention? That's it's so neat the way they did it.
Very, very was it those they used to see him a lot in the 90s in movies too, where Hare Krishna kind of thing, where the Hare Krishnas would be outside of airports handing out pamphlets to be part of the religion. They'd be white with beads, a white cloak with beads on, handing out pamphlets outside of major airports and stuff.
I'm completely unfamiliar with what you're talking about.
Oh wow, you should check it out. You definitely would freak out. The Hare Krishnas.
The Hare Krishnas.
Yeah. Yeah, they were you'd see them in movies and television in the mid to late 90s of these people in I said white robes with beads handing out pamphlets.
Is Hare Krishnas a thing that you just made up a term, or is that
no? It's actually what they're called. Yeah, the Hare Krishnas.
They call themselves that?
I mean, I think that's what the religion is based upon, is the Hare Krishna. I don't know if that's what they're called, but they're monks that follow that particular sect of belief,
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about right now. I ain't never seen
So
this.
that's kind of like, or just Mormonism for people who don't know who Hare Krishnas are, just going around on bicycles.
Yeah,
a
I
good
mean,
word.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine just like the monk equivalent of the who am I speaking about?
Hare Krishna?
The dorks with the ties
Yeah, that's
and
the
the white
Mormons.
t-shirt.
That's what I was talking about.
Not Mormons.
Oh,
Jehovah's
Witness. Yeah,
They're like the monk equivalent of Jehovah's Witnesses.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, well, I can at least follow that conceptually. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to look into what the fuck a Hare Krishna is to see if you're just butchering that, or if I'm
probably just butchering
or if
it.
I'm just completely unaware. Like, what's happening? I'm gonna come back and like either affirm you or shit on you next podcast for sure.
So he's like, do you want to make out or actually kiss for the first time?
Let me kiss you with my lips.
Yeah.
Like,
So she's like, I'm gonna go and check out this guy Roy. You're like, you're welcome to come with me.
And so while this is so Rick is like up on like a pedestal, right?
Mhm.
Like preaching.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm a scientist in real life. This isn't real life. It's a video
this is a
game.
video
You at
game.
least follow that, right? At least understand it's a video game.
And they're all having trouble. Like one of them's
Am
like,
I
so
your
am I here? Yeah. It's like a blue-haired, thin rock, like punk rock person.
Everybody's like,
Yeah.
so your grandma. Everybody's real confused by it. And right whenever like the tide is starting to turn with the crowd, Roy, who is possessed by Rick, literally like, looks up at the sky and is like, "Fucking what, Summer?"
Yeah, and she's like literally giving him mouth to mouth, like resuscitating him. And she's like, a minute out here a minute to an hour is a month in there. It's like,
It's a second a month.
Yeah, a second.
Every second out here is a month in
Yeah,
there.
exactly. So it's like, I'm losing time every time you pull me out. What do you want?
Summer's like, dude, there's an army of bad guy aliens here. And like, what do I do? And Rick like looks around and he's like, there's a small group of alien terrorists.
Yeah.
Do a fucking Die Hard.
Yeah.
Summer's like, oh, what the fuck Die Hard? I'm
Yeah,
17.
he's a kid. Like, what does she know?
She's like, dude, the guy from Die Hard, I've never seen Die Hard either, so you're on the right track.
Yeah,
Good luck.
Yeah.
And he goes back in, and while he's in, right, Summer deals with all kinds of insanity.
Yeah.
So there's basically terrorists killing folks, and Summer's having to like sneak around doing a Die Hard. Right?
Yeah, doing a Die Hard, and so like I love Die Hard, so I like the whole premise of like
all the little tropes.
Yeah, Nakatomi Tower, which they don't really talk about, but like instead of Yippee Ki-Yay, I think
she says some silly Diva Dabba Doo or some shit.
Yeah, she says something with like walkie talkie motherfucker, I think. So she's like,
walkie-talkie Die Hard, motherfucker.
yeah, and that's kind of like their replacement of Yippee Ki-Yay for like John McClane, because in the movie he gets called a cowboy. So like throughout the movie, he like subtly brings it up of like Yippee Ki-Yay because he's like calling him John Wayne.
That's fun.
Yeah. So, and of course Hans Gruber was voiced by Alan Lichtman. So he was like the guy who played Snape on Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And so he's very, 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 very prominent actor. And I guess on this one he's voiced by the guy from Game of Thrones. You asked who he was.
Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage, yeah.
Do you know that for a fact, or you just?
I'm assuming because he's the most prominent name, so I'm assuming he's the one who voiced the Hans Gruber
I hope
character.
it's like a South Park thing where they have Jay Leno come on just to do the cat
just
meow.
to do the doctor, yeah.
Just to do the cat meowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I would love it if he was just like the one guy who like
The
got
one who
shot.
came up and ate him or so.
Yeah, which that's great, man.
Yeah.
But so she's sneaking around and she winds up getting confronted by a dude. She tackles him. They like fall through a ledge and like she lands on him and he like explodes. And she's like, "Oh my god, it's so gross."
Oh my god, it tastes good. Oh my god, it's gross because it tastes good.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, "Oh fuck, dude! Like I'm covered in like someone's insides." Oh, it's actually not bad. Oh, this is someone's insides.
Yeah.
Like she goes through she goes through the realization of like, this is gross in premise. It's actually not gross, but oh my god, the premise.
And so as this is moving forward, another sentient tool, which is awesome. The walkie-talkie seems to be sentient, or
oh yeah, they're like they remind me of
The wigs, the
voice-ovarians.
Yeah.
They remind me of the voice-ovarians.
From Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
No. The voice-ovarians are the ones who allowed for the internal dialogue to be shared between Summer and
I remember
Morty.
that.
They remind me of them. How they're like a thing that like is living and like transmits.
Basically, eats their sound and like.
I don't know. They didn't go into it, but it's like moving. There's something about this show where they really like to show, like, blur the lines between tech and life.
Yeah.
Right, like the time Cop's gun was alive and its name was Kevin. All their like dials and machines are like big hunks of flesh. You know what I'm saying? And now like they've got voice-ovarians who are like parasites who can take over stuff, and then you've got these guys who are used as like walkie-talkies.
Yeah.
And it's just like neat how they show how you don't necessarily need to use like a piece of tech in order to get something done.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
like skin can be tech. Skin can transmit electricity and like.
Whatever the case may be, like the point is that they're like, bro, like you can be, like these organic things can get the job done. You know, carrier pigeons type shit. You know what I'm saying? But so, she takes this walkie-talkie, right, and she fucking talks a bunch of shit to the like leader, who's like apparently voiced by Peter Dinklage.
Yeah.
And she like crawls through a vent and is like full on doing a Die Hard.
She does. Well, she definitely does like the whole like go. There's definitely a scene in Die Hard where he kind of slow talk breaks the fourth wall, like go to the Christmas party, have a good time, and all that other stuff. But instead, she's kind of playing it up like, have a do a Die Hard, have a good time. It's definitely like a trope that happens.
It's like an homage to it for sure.
Exactly, definitely.
And so I love how Homie is like aware of, like he's like, there's a Die Hard in every reality.
Yeah, so their Die Hard is essentially like the hero's journey.
Exactly, right? Like that's in Die Hard is like a tale that gets told in every reality, and like he had a bunch of different names for it, like
the Tower Man, I think was one of them.
Tower Man, classic Tower. Rick comes in and is like classic Tower Man at the very end. Calls back to this particular conversation. She tells the big bad that she killed. I think his name's like Frank.
Yeah, so like in Die Hard, he's like there's a scene where he takes the machine gun and he's basically saying, at this very moment, one of my guys is coming after you, and he's got a machine gun. And then he's like, joke's on you, I got a machine gun too. It's like essentially just like little, like definitely funny because they're like.
It's like a game of cat and mouse.
Yeah, well, I'm saying like they're definitely altering it because Summer doesn't know what a Die Hard is. So it's as close as it can get with Summer just messing it up just slightly because she doesn't know what a Die Hard is.
Yeah.
So it's like. Like ha ha ha.
Well, so she's living her own Die Hard story,
exactly,
right? She's not doing she's not recreating a Die Hard. She's doing a Die Hard for real.
Exactly.
So, one of the cohorts like gets angry at the news that that Frank has been killed, and he goes off to kill Summer, and goes on the hunt. But Summer actually kills him, which it turns out she doesn't kill him.
Yeah,
she shot him,
just
and
shoots him in
he
the
comes
arm
back and like plays a significant role later. And then she rushes the main room of bad guys, blasting away, yelling, Die Hard, Die Hard.
Die Hard.
So
and
funny.
And he gets so mad, he's like, you can't just keep saying Die Hard over and over again.
And she's like calling it out as she like runs around like from the shadows. All I hear is Die Hard, Die Hard.
Mm-hmm.
They chase her around, and the bad guys stumble across Rick and Morty, who they like realize this is their sibling. Yeah. And they effectively like begin to hold them hostage.
That as the story's progressing in Roy, you hear Morty say, "My sister right now is doing a Die Hard, and we need to go and save her." And so they essentially hear that through the speakers.
What's actually happening on that screen, what I noticed and what I wasn't necessarily going to speak on, but because you brought it up, that's a conversation between Roy and the version of Morty that is Morta's daughter.
Yeah.
Like whenever Morta at the end is like, I'm gonna go help my sister do a Die Hard, and turns on her mom. Mm-hmm. That's the conversation that triggers that right there. Yeah. You're actually getting to see it. which is neat, and it's like something that you would only notice if you're really paying attention.
Okay.
And I just like happened to
Just kind of like
happen.
focus on it.
I say you'd only notice it if you're really paying attention. I wasn't paying too close of attention, but I've also seen the episode 3 times in preparation of this, so I just happened to catch that after long enough.
And so, as they trip over him, he kind of like declares, "I found your family. I found your brother."
Yeah. He like announces it. He has
Yeah.
like a mechanism that like allows him to announce over like a megaphone that like we've got your family, this and that. And Summer winds up confronting them, like stepping out with like her hands up, but she's got a gun taped to her back, and it turns out that she actually read the book on Die Hard, like she stole it from his luggage.
She's
and,
like, I read your book as I was taking a crap.
Yeah, I read it while I was taking a shit, which is fucking super funny.
And I think she asked him too. She's like, "What, did you write a book on this?" And he's like, "Yeah, 3."
Several, actually.
Yeah.
My civilization's aware of this.
Yeah.
And so, back in the Roy world, while this is happening, it turns out that Rick has accidentally created a religion, right?
Yeah, and he's getting really frustrated with it because he doesn't want it to be a religion. It's the truth. So he's
Exactly.
Like, and I think like at one point they're kind of like at this like Christian lock-in kind of thing where they're playing like Christian rock music, and he's like, "Yo, this isn't how I want the message spread. I don't even like this kind of music. My scene's hip-hop, and I don't think we have the diversity credit to actually do anything cool like that."
Yeah. Yeah, he said, "I'm an old school hip hop guy, and this isn't an invitation to do it." And the tanks literally bust in.
Yeah.
He was like, "You guys are all under arrest for being religious the wrong way," which I thought was one of the funniest lines in the whole series. And the way that Morta steps up and is like, "No, you're not a cop. You're a 14-year-old boy who like loves pizza and masturbation type shit."
Yeah.
And you're like in way over your head, and it like wakes Morty up, and he's like, "Why is this always happening? Why is this always happening?"
I like how he says, "I'm a tad bit racist, but I met a friend in a nondescript war overseas, and he immigrated over." And they're like, no, you're not.
That doesn't count.
Yeah, that's not real. You're in a game. And then so it all culminates to Morta wanting to hear just affirmation from Rick. And Rick just is refusing to give any affirmation of love or caring to Morta.
I mean, it literally was like, "We'll all go if you tell me you love me."
Yeah. And he just digs in deeper. And Morta gets pushed away by her father, who calls her a whore. And
Oh, well, so Morta, whenever she's first going through her awakening to being Morty, has like a Jewish father, and like, bro, they bag on Jews so hard for their nonsense words, like several times.
They don't know what a yarmulke is, and because he's a 14-year-old boy who was raised in a non-denominational Christian home.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
he doesn't know what a yarmulke is. He just calls it a tiny hat and calls it like something. He butchers the name. He doesn't know any of the religious like. She's like, "Just give me like 5 things you know about it. Like, just give me like 10 things you know about it." And he's like, there's hundreds of things that are about this religion. And she's like, "Yeah, but I just need 5, and you don't know any of them because you're a 14-year-old boy in a video game. Like, you need to like come to the realization."
Yeah, it's super great the way that they do great with Morta throughout the entire episode.
She's definitely one of the best characters.
One of my favorite scenes is whenever they have good enough news.
Gia,
and he's like, "We don't know how Mortyism became a global phenomenon, but we understand that the leader Roy has a base out here in the mountains, and we couldn't find it, but so I'm standing out here in the general area with a microphone." It's like,
so great, yeah. And then there's
so
like this,
like, again, just so cheeky. It's just like they just slapped it together. Like, there's something about this show, how it just feels like hodgepodgely slapped together. That makes it really endearing.
Yeah, and it's so funny because the lack of trying shows how much they've tried, right? Their lack of like it almost seems like they're trying hard not to try. You know?
Well, it's like a commitment to bring to life this dumbass's vision, no matter how silly it is. That makes it like so hard to imagine. It's like, how do you fucking really go about bringing what we just talked about on the screen to life seriously on the back end without being like, this is ridiculous?
I love the fact that like they literally arced an insane like Rick who is hell-bent on murder, and then they can go to this like completely different episode that's solely focused around Summer doing a Die Hard and Morty becoming self-actualized in a video game. You know?
Yeah, it's crazy the robust range of things that they can do with the show.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking fascinating.
Yeah.
They've done a really, really good job with this show.
And so there's kind of like a UN meeting of like all the countries coming together, and Rick won't say, but he's actually impressed that Morta can get all of these people together, and even brings Morta's father back around to but the mother passes away, and this frustrates Rick because for every Morty that dies, it's less of a percentage of Morty coming back out of the video game, and at this point they're only at an 8% loss. And so he can live with that.
Yeah, well, so it would be 8% of, like, they've got 92% of the population on board to get on spaceships and go out to the edge of space where it's going to reset the game and it's going to kick them both out.
Yeah. Yep.
And whenever Rick doesn't say that he loves Morta fast enough, it trips them all out and they all decide not to do it. And they kick off the Holy War, the holiest of wars.
The holiest of wars. And, so at that point, how much of Morty is gone is what I want to know. I mean, it has to be a pretty substantial amount because, like, they're literally killing nothing but Mortys. I mean, right?
Yeah.
So he's literally killing a ton of himself off by having this giant holiest of wars.
Yeah,
which is funny because I guess an internal war is a holy war, right? I mean, if you consider yourself to be God, that's the holiest of wars. An internal strife with the and you consider yourself to be the end all be all. And in this video game, Morty is everybody. So he's literally having the holiest of wars, you know?
Yeah. I love that that part of the 8% was the president Morty, and he was like, "Of course I know that I'm a 14-year-old boy. Like I was. How do you think you become president?
Yeah.
Like I was aware of this before you dropped your fucking first skateboard, kid. Like want to do some heroin? It's a video game. Might as well.
Yeah.
Like it goes from
I
0
think he
to
calls her
100.
like sweetheart, and he's like, I know this doesn't. He's like, but I'm vaguely Southern in this reality. So like. And then he calls her like cutie pie or something, and then essentially they walk away from each other, kind of like understanding that this particular Morty doesn't want to leave. He's dug in like a tick.
Well, there's a part like you said, there's a part of us who doesn't trust Rick at all.
And why should they?
No, well, I mean he's a bad dude. Like Rick's a bad dude. If you're idolizing Rick, you're doing it wrong.
You're idolizing the Joker and Scarface along with it.
Yeah, exactly. So at this point, OG Morty girl Morta's daughter basically goes, I'm going to join the other side. Like I want to go help my sister do a Die Hard. And at this point, Morta goes and meets up with old man Roy, and he's like, dude, I don't know how much longer I could have held out. I'm basically like beating my heart through sheer force of will at this point, right? Like he was like, dude, I've got fucking old in here. And he does tell Morty that he's proud of him and this and that, and like they have this kind of like wholesome moment, and they all get in the ships and leave the game. Like it literally works out the way that Rick said it would. And they travel to the edge of space, and it just kind of goes white screen, and then they immediately like come out, eyes dilated, and at this point it picks up from where Summer's reaching for the back of the gun in reality, and they of course, I don't know if it's both of them, but they murk the two guarding them. Yeah, and then essentially, she doesn't get to kill the Hans Gruber character, but like you said, at this point it was the one who was shooting on top of the table and says, if you're gonna do a Die Hard, don't get on top of don't hide under a table when you're trying to do a Die Hard. And she just comes up from the back and like shoots him in the
shoots him in some part of the body and says,
shoots him like through the torso.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, I won't. And then just like walks away. And now, essentially, he comes up and he like stops her. He like taps her with the barrel of the gun on her shoulder. And she's like, whoa, what's going on? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I think I had like a moment of awakening, right?
Yeah. He's like, he basically talked about having like a bunch of pent up trauma from accidentally eating a kid instead of a dude, but that he thinks he's like ready to shed all that, and he literally just like eats the big bad and fucking like he like like he's like a normal dude, and then he like erupts into like this bigger form, like busts out of his whole fucking shirt. His body opens up, he grabs the dude and eats him, and then fucking flies through the glass dome like a gangster. It's pretty, like, it definitely goes from like 0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah, it's so great. So great.
So, and this is like, again, right as Summer's going to like draw her gun, right? Like Summer's going to draw her gun that's taped on her back. They escape and kill the henchman. Rick does the callback to being a classic Tower Man.
Classic Tower Man, yeah.
And Morty on the way out's like, I trust you implicitly, and that's whenever Rick like looks back at the machine and realizes that there's still a part of Morty like that's still living in there. And they wind up paying to have it just plugged into a battery and to let it run forever so that that can just keep going.
Essentially at the end there you hear, which is it's a callback to what I would say is a callback to maybe Raiders of the Lost Ark. I don't know if you've ever seen the Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark, but at the end of it, they basically take the Ark of the Covenant, and they put it in this warehouse of like all these like important things that are being kind of tucked away by important people to not be out in the world. And at this point, it's just like he's like, yeah, some really rich guy paid us to like keep it running because there's a woman in here. Like it's reset, but there's a woman in here who's still in the game, living her life as a grandmother.
Yeah, he said it's all centered around some old lady leading a fulfilling life.
Yeah, so essentially he gave like whatever part they knew was going to be in there. He gave her the opportunity for Morta's grandmother or Morta's mother. I'm sorry.
I think it's about Morta.
Morta to live on in the video game.
Yeah.
Which she wanted to do.
Yeah, I don't exactly know how to interpret it. I really don't, but I know that I know it's interesting. I know there's a part of Morty still living in there, and
it's very sad actually, because like I mean, is that the like what Morty are we gonna get a less combative Morty now?
Man, who knows? But then at the end. The big bad's brother is out doing a Die Hard 3, and he's just like, man, what's the point? I miss my brother type shit.
Well, the funny thing is like Die Hard 3 is like one of my favorite ones, and yeah, the board scene is very racist, so it's funny. It's like, I hate everyone. Well, like, who does that offend? Everyone. It's like, it doesn't like. He's like, okay, well, like, but I just miss my brother, and it's just so funny because in the movie. I can't remember any of these people's names, but like Hans Gruber gets dropped from Nakatomi Tower, and on the next one, Hans Gruber's brother is basically taking revenge on McClane. But essentially, there's no one. I mean, no one can take revenge on Rick, so it's kind of funny. Like,
yeah, you're up a creek.
Yeah, so he's just kind of like going through the motions now.
So, what was your favorite episode? What was your favorite part of the episode?
I'd have to say whenever Summer's kind of doing the one-liners from Die Hard, like
all the little
gimmicky callbacks. I'd have to say that, but even that is like one of my favorite things because I absolutely love Die Hard. I actually got a Die Hard coloring book for Christmas one year. Like I'm a Die Hard fan.
You're a Die Hard fan?
I'm a Die Hard fan. Yeah,
that's beautiful.
And so so just to like see all these little like funny like purposeful missteps on like dialogue and like basically making it Summer doing her own Die Hard, which is really great, was probably one of the best things. But also one of my favorite things was getting that callback to Roy, like, and him being able to play Roy again. I love the fact that we got to have a callback to this like really
any Blips and Chips episode is gonna be great,
and the fact that like Summer actually got to go to Blips and Chips, and I think she'd been wanting to go.
Yeah, she's part of the team.
Yeah, and the fact that now that they took Summer was when something catastrophic happens.
Yeah, she's guaranteed to fucking cause it.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part of the episode is whenever Morty president was like fully aware of what was going on the entire time.
So cynical now.
He's like, I just don't trust Rick at all. Let's do some heroin.
Yeah, he just like pulls this random baggie out of like one of the drawers.
He's like, it's a video game. Might as well. And it's a video game. You might as well listen to some Portal Boys podcast.
It's a video game, man.
Yeah, figure we can end it there.
Just a heads up, man. That the Ones Who Woke Up episode, they gotta catch that, man. The episode we just
my most
did.
recent Ones Who Woke Up, and be publishing it ASAP.
That one, I was grinning from ear to ear with that one. Man.
Cheshire Cat on the track.
Yeah,
huh?
exactly.
Well, y'all heard it here. Go check out the Ones Who Woke Up too. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. This is Joshua.
This is Elias.
Portal Boys V Podcast, and we'll catch y'all next time.
Monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth.